Alright, so in this tutorial I will be showing you how to draw a cougar eye. Alright, first you're going to start out with grabbing a black colored pencil and tracing around your lines. For me, I'm doing the iris and I'm just coloring that in kind of softly because it's just a base layer. I'm also going to trace around the outside of the eye just so I can see it clearer. Sometimes the graphite rubs away as I'm working on it, and I don't want that to happen and lose my guidelines. So I'm just going to trail across the whole thing. I'm just kind of making my guidelines where they're supposed to be in the black parts of this big cat's eye. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and speed this up so you guys don't have to watch that whole thing. And now I'm going to start going in with my blue. There are certain parts of this cat's eye that has the blue depth into it. When you start drawing from whatever reference photo you're drawing from, start with the brightest colors first. So what I'm doing is I'm going in with this light blue. In reality, when it is finished, it's probably going to be more of like a murky gray blue, but since we are layering and you can't really get bright colors back, you always start with the bright colors first and then dull it down from there. So I'm going to go ahead and speed it up while I add in all of these blue areas. Alright, now that I have my base blues in, I'm going to go around with my browns. This particular eye has warm brown tones around the outside edges and on the inside of that iris. So I'm just going to, again, trace over my guidelines just so I have them available to me when I start blending, because that graphite it's not going to be noticeable in further steps. So I'm just tracing around those really pretty detail lines. And I'm going to color it in a little bit just to make sure that that brown kind of peeks out as I start blending. It's more like a terracotta brown. It's not necessarily like a different kind of brown. So if you're using the Prismacolors, it's the terracotta color. Now I'm going to come in with this light gray. It has a warm brown tone to it, which is kind of what I'm going for. It has like a pinky undertone, which is really nice for when you're doing like the whites of eyes, for example, like I'm doing here, because it adds a little bit more of that depth. And I'm coming in again with that white just to make sure that I have enough of the white layered on top of where the reflections are to make it so that when I go over with a different color, for example, that the white still shows through. And so then you get like that faded reflection look rather than just the white of a reflection and the dark undertones. So it's kind of like an interesting thing. You'll see here when I blend later in the future. Here I am going in with like this light green in the other eye and in my reference photo. There is a brighter green closer to the iris. So that is kind of what I am doing. And then I'm going to take the green and I'm also going to put it on the bottom next to where the browns are as well. But I will do that in a moment after taking in this lighter green. It's a little bit brighter. Again, start with the brights, then go to the darks, and it just creates a more layered look. So many layers go into doing eyes, especially if you're doing realistic ones. So you just kind of have to be patient. And as long as you can tell where the colors are in your reference photo and you just keep layering those colors, trust the process, make darker notches like I am doing here. And I'm going to go ahead and speed this up just pulling so that we're away not here from the iris and towards the outside of the eye. That makes it look a little bit more even. Alright, now I'm going to go in with this terracotta color again and go around the iris. If you look at the other eye that I've already drawn, you can tell that there is that brown in that iris. So I'm just doing it to this one as well. All right, now I'm going to go in with this blue again and add it to the dark area of the reflection from where the iris can kind of be seen in the reflection. If you look at the other eye closely, you can see that I did it to that one as well. This just creates the illusion of depth that I am going for. I am also outlining various areas of where the reflection starts and ends, little gaps that can be seen here and there. And then I'm going to come in with this dark tiny gray, and I'm going to start adding that depth that I'm going for. As you can see here, I am actually outlining a little bit of that ridge line from when the two different colors of the eye meet. If you look in the other eye, you can see that I've done that as well. That creates those darker areas that allow for that depth to shine through, and that's what you really need when you're doing these detailed works. Plus, I'm going in with the dark gray to also tone it down once I start blending it together. It creates a more uniform and detailed piece. It adds that depth that you really, really want when it comes to eyes. The depth is the part that captures most people's attention. It's what people like the most when they're looking at an eye. If you don't have that depth, you don't have that life. And if you don't have that life, you don't have what you need. I've also sped this part up a little bit just to make it a little easier on viewers to watch. Now I'm going to go in with this warm gray. I know the pencil looks brown. It's not. It's a gray that has brown undertones. I'm darkening those guidelines, again, drawing out from the iris to the outside of the eye. That creates that linear look that is sometimes in an eye that has like those really cool ridges and details that are unique to everyone's eye. So it will be unique to my Cougar. Again, going back in with this brown, and I'm just going to add a few little details here and there. Now I'm going back in with this dark gray, and I'm going to darken the iris. I am slowly going to start darkening the eye and blending it out before I reach the final stage. This is a really important part to do. Darkening the darks and then blending the lights before going in with another dark color. So here is my dark ochre green. You can tell that it is a little bit bright, which is still good. Again, start from bright, then go dark. But it is darker than the other greens I was using. So I'm using that to create those linear lines, again, pulling out from the iris to the outside of the eye. And that is what I am doing. You can see that a little bit while I go around the rim of the eye. If you look at the other eye, there is a little bit more of the dark greens and the dark browns on the outside, so that is what I am trying to mimic in this eye as well. As I go in with these darker colors and kind of darken the guidelines, I'm going to speed it up as it's already information that I have given you, and I don't want, you to just stare at my real-time piece. Alright, and I'm coming in with the lighter colors again to go over all the dark lines that I have just brought out. And this bright yellow colored pencil to make it pretty dramatic before I start darkening it again. Blending with light colors is really, really beneficial rather than using a blending tool or your finger. So that is kind of what I'm going for at this stage. I'm trying to keep the eye bright before I darken it some more. And now that I have my base colors down and my tones and my ranges and a good idea of how this eye is going to play out, I am going to start going in with these lighter greens and blues to start to blend the colors together. So here is this light green going in. I will speed up for you, but I will be bringing in a light green and a light blue and some light grays just to kind of blend it in together rather than using my blending tool. Alright, Alright, and then I've sped this portion up, but I'm going in with the slate grays and little light blue, and I'm just reaffirming the lines that I have, blending in where it needs to be blended. Occasionally I do use my finger and kind of rub at certain areas as I switch colors just to add it, make it more blended. And then I go in with this bright yellow to brighten up the sides of the eye. And yeah, so I'll just speed this portion up. Alright, and now it's come to the stage where I'm going to get out my mechanical eraser, turn it on, and actually erase part of the eye where I've already added like the lighter details. This way I can just add more color in there. It's easier to blend if you erase some of the lighter areas and then fill it in with the light color again, and it just creates a larger definition between the lights and the darks, and creates that textured look, like it's kind of milky and liquidy behind the actual eye. And you can see here that I'm going in with that lighter blue on the areas that I have erased, and kind of darkening the shadow in the eye. And now that you can see a big difference between the colors, I'm going to start going through and darkening up the dark areas again to make the lines a little bit more visible. And I'm going to trace the outline of the eye where the warm colors are, again with this warm yellow, kind of blend it into the eyes a little bit, just so like the yellow and the blue creates the green, and that's what kind of makes it look nice, is when you have the large array of colors blending together to create the eye. Alright, and now I am darkening the outline of the eye, where the lid of the eye is, where the lip of the eye is, where the opening is, where the tear duct is, all of that. I am now just going to darken to kind of help me see the contrast between the dark of the lips of the eye and the brightness of the eye itself. It just allows me to finish putting on the big differences. Yeah. Now that I can see I need more depth in the eye, I'm going in with a darker brown in the eye just to add a little bit more shading, make it look a little bit more round like an eye is supposed to. I'm blending in with my finger, and I've decided that I'm actually going to get like the blendy paper tool. I use the Arteza brand, and blend in all of the lows and the high tones and just everything. Just go over with a quick, nice blend. Now that I've gone in with the blend, I'm going to get my white colored pencil and I am going to go along those highlighted areas to make the reflection shine a little bit nicer. And now I'm going in with a light gray and just going over the whole eye. It helps blend it in and it gives it also that shiny look. If I were to blend over with like a clear color pencil or one of the blues or one of the yellows or one of the light greens or even the whites that I've been using, it's not going to have as smooth of a look because those stark colors kind of mute everything. So I'm going over with the light gray just to make it look nicer. And now that I've done that, I'm going in with my blue to kind of define where the iris is in the reflection of the light that's in the eye. And I'm just going to also darken up those blue areas to make them a little bit more stark and different now that I've blended in a little bit with the grays. Because again, this just takes layers and layers and layers, and you just keep adding and keep adding and keep adding. Now I'm going in with the brown, doing the same thing that I just did with the blue, kind of making the values a little bit more distinguishable to create those layers. All right, now that I've fixed those areas, I'm going to work at the line of the eye like I was trying to do before I got distracted by the color contrast. I'm just darkening up those dark areas so that I'm able to see the eye more vividly. All right, then I'm going to go back in with the blendy tool and just blend in the dark colors. A good rule of thumb when it comes to color pencil, if you see white, you are not blending enough and you are not done. You need at least another layer. So now I'm going in with the light color just to kind of show the reflection of what the wet lip and tear duct is supposed to look like, add a little bit more depth in there, and then I'm done. And here's what it looks like finished and framed and on the wall with the rest of the pieces in the show. The show is called Eyes of the Pacific Northwest, and I had it at Aurora Gallery in May. Thank you.